You.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
We're doing awesome. So there's a little bit of trepidation, I think would be the word, Albert, in this town because we have not been given a press release that says Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze have signed their rookie tenders. Can you tell us what the deal is? Why would some guys not be signed yet when everything's slotted?
Because, I mean, you give agents and teams anything to fight over, and they'll fight over it, you know? So, I mean, like, really, like, since 2011, there hasn't been a lot to fight over. But, you know, for teams, usually it's a matter of precedent, and not so much precedent with rookie contracts, but the stuff they put in rookie contracts and how that can affect veteran contracts. And then, you know, for agents, it's recruiting. And so, like, can the agent find something that is going to be sellable to the next year's rookie class, right? Like, can the agent find something that he can negotiate away from the team that he can present to a kid who's in college right now over the summer and say, look, I got this for this player that'll help him recruit. And then, you know, again, on the other side of it, like what the teams are concerned with is setting precedent that's going to affect them not only with their rookie contracts, but with their veteran contracts going forward. So it's all like little minutia, but, you know, again, you give these guys an inch and they'll take a mile. The good news is, like, these are almost never like they used to be, where you'd see, you know, contract disputes last into the middle of August. I'd be surprised if, and look, like, you never know. Like, it does happen. You know, it happened with Joey Bosa years ago. So it does happen. But I'd be surprised if we didn't have some sort of agreement right before training camp starts. And I mean, just to tell you guys from our perspective, like from somebody like my perspective, like getting like rookie contract news used to be a big deal. Like I barely even pay attention to it anymore. You know, I couldn't tell you who signed and who isn't. In fact, until you read that sports update, I didn't know that Caleb hadn't signed. You figure these things are just going to get done, and you don't really, I mean, until they start training camp, it's really not an issue.
Well, I mean, they're waiting until Hard Knocks, right? So you can have pen on paper in front of the cameras, correct?
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. The Bears ought to be careful based on what's happened with the Giants last week, right? So yeah, but if they can build some drama there, maybe that's a plus.
I was telling Hoodie that there was a video of Malik Nabers. Did you see it?
Yep. Yeah. Made it rain.
Made it rain at the strip club. I mean, that had to be 10 inches of money that he had stacked up there, and he's making it rain.
I do think, guys, I did study that a little bit. I think that those were ones, but I'm not totally.
They were
studied
ones,
it.
Right?
I did the same thing.
I saw someone tweeted that he was throwing away thousands of dollars, and so I wanted to take a closer look to see if that was really true. I think those were all ones.
So I screen grabbed it, Albert. I took a screenshot, and then I blew it up. At least on the top, that was a $1 bill. So, you know, it could have been $500 for all we know.
I doubt if you're that guy, like if there's a one on the top, they're all ones, right?
Exactly.
Like if you're trying to make yourself look like a baller,
you
might
put the 100
like
on the top.
20s on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then stack the middle with ones.
Right.
There's no way that for show you're putting a one on the top if they aren't all ones.
That was my cousin Vinny. Remember when he did that?
Yes. But you gotta you gotta love Eagle Eye Breer though, looking in, zooming in to make sure those are ones.
That's it. So
I was interested just because, like, I mean, you guys know all the misinformation that's out there with all the Twitter accounts and everything else. Like, so I wanted to see if there was accuracy to it, and as is often the case, there wasn't a whole lot of accuracy to it.
Okay, so my
the
question
idea is they were throwing away thousands anyway.
Correct. My question is, so there he is having a good time. He's going to make a lot of money. Not that I would want to have my son or me or Hoodie squandering our money, throwing it in the air, making it rain. But do the Giants talk to him, or do they not pay attention?
Yeah, I mean, this will make people in Chicago feel a little bit more comfortable. You know, like that was sort of the question with Malik Nabers. There were some maturity questions, you know, and some things about having to grow up to the point where I really thought, honestly, that, you know, would the Giants get a little gun shy? I mocked Rome Odunze to them because I thought they could get a little gun shy given their previous experience with LSU receivers, you know, in New York. So Malik Nabers is wildly, wildly talented, you know, to the point where, you know, I had people comparing him to Jalen Waddle. And, I mean, it's just, you know, he's a really, really good player. But there was that question whereas with Odunze, you know, he was clean as a whistle. You know what I mean? So this is something I think the Giants knew these sorts of things could be a possibility. And I'm not saying specifically like what the cameras caught him doing, but like, could there be some young guy issues? Like I think that the Giants had an idea that those could come up.
Jack, could you give us the story about Joe Burrow from around the NFL you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so he suggested that the NFL go to an 18-game schedule with a Pro Bowl bye week in Week 13, where every single team has a bye week in Week 13, and they play the Pro Bowl then. Said it could bring some extra attention to the Pro Bowl and also adds in the 18 games with the 2 byes.
So this would solve one problem, but not another. Like, I think, like, the idea of, like, having an all-star break, I guess, which was sort of the idea, right? The idea of having an all-star break would work for the networks, right? Like, the reason why they're – and, like, I've tried to tell people till I'm blue in the face on this, but, like, the reason why they don't go to 2 bye weeks to accommodate Thursday Night Football, to accommodate the expanded schedule – is because the networks don't want that. Because what it would do it would dilute the Sunday afternoon product. So for CBS and Fox, who are already being robbed 6 ways from Sunday, with all of the different games going to these different places, Christmas, Thursday Night Football, all of these different things, the Saturday games, it would really hurt, like, what they're able to kind of put together as far as a Sunday afternoon lineup, which is the bread and butter of the NFL. If you did go to the All-Star break, that model, then that would basically make that irrelevant because everybody would be off in that 1 week, and then you'd have like the normal setup otherwise. What it wouldn't solve, I have seen some people suggest that would make it more likely that players would play. Do you guys really think teams are going to let their guys go out there and play in the middle of the season in some All-Star game?
They would not.
No
and
shot.
if it's about ratings and revenue, Albert, if it's about ratings and revenue, you're not getting either one of those things with a Pro Bowl. No one's watching anymore.
I am so nervous if I'm a team sending my guy off to an All-Star weekend type thing. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why the NFL had their Pro Bowl at the end of the season in the first place, because nobody would take the injury risk of sending their guy out there in mid-season, the way that they do in the NBA or in baseball or in hockey. So yeah, man, like I the idea of it, I think makes sense in some ways. I don't know. I don't know that it would really. I don't know that the benefit would be there for everybody the same way, and I just think that the networks are so powerful with these things, with what they pay for everything. My guess would be if they do go to 18 games, it'd probably be in a 19-week format with the championship game, with the Super Bowl being on President's Day weekend, which I think will probably come in the next 5 years or so.
Hey, Albert, before we let you go, so the Cubs are the betting favorite on DraftKings, not the Cubs, the Bears, to get David Bakhtiari. There are 3 guys out there that we hear they have interest in: Bakhtiari, Connor Williams, and Yannick Ngakoue. Do you think any of those 3 end up in Chicago from what you're hearing?
I think Yannick has a chance. I would say, offensive line depth is important to the Bears, and both those guys would help. I think we went over Bakhtiari last week, right? Like, Bakhtiari's, when he's at his best, is a great, great player. It's sad what's happened to him, and I think if you're going to sign David Bakhtiari, you got to do it as like anything we get out of him is a bonus.
Yep.
He just hasn't been able to stay healthy, and that's not an affront to him personally. It's just the facts. You know what I mean? Like, he just, as great as he is when he's healthy, I think it's a fool's errand to be expecting all of a sudden for him to be healthy for 17 games, right? Connor Williams is interesting to me. Once he gets healthy, he's going to give you depth in a bunch of different spots, and we've talked about him. I would just say Yannick might be the most likely one, because he's got the background with the team, with the system, and because the Bears have been actively looking for someone to play opposite Montez Sweat, and like it's something they didn't really address in the draft as much. So I'd say Yannick of the 3 guys you gave me would be the most likely.
Have a great day, and we'll see you next week when you get to town.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. There he is, the great Albert Breer on the CarX Tire and Auto Hotline.
Jesus.
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, boom, boom, boom. Don't worry, call the car accident.
Is he in a motorhome?
No, he is taking his son to camp today.
Sounds like it.
It's like Dad's Day at camp. And I was texting with him because he's coming in next week for the Chris Stapleton concert at Soldier Field.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I'll be with you guys, but I'm taking my son to camp. So he's got a young son, and he knows he's eventually, like in the next couple weeks, after he has his little break here at the concert, then he goes on his tour of all 32 training camps. Like, he's gone for a month.
Man.
So
That's the life, man.
appreciate you squeezing us in.
No question. How come people don't ring the bell anymore? Next on Kap and J Hood.